Good morning. This is AniKaspar. This is a sworn testimony on 5/1/2017 at 7:18 a.m. I was forced to endure another night of torture with some level of directed energy weapon. As you can see, I'm getting more and more jaundiced as time goes on, and I pretty much have a running fever, joint pain, sore throat, dizziness, vertigo, uh, uh, lung issues, tendon, ligament, and muscle weakness. And let's see, gastrointestinal is not too bad, which is really nice. And no very, very severe headaches at this juncture, which is very nice. But again, this is still torture without doubt, and by entities who refuse to name themselves and who refuse to participate in conversation about the illegal listing program that I was put on, I am told, by private investigatory services with 25 years of experience in this, probably in 1997, when I received my first death threat while in the midst of litigation, class action litigation on the behalf of women's rights against a major Wall Street firm. Um, the reason for this sworn testimony today is to detail a bit how comprehensive these programs are and how, when in my life, they were dramatically escalated, how that looks in terms of the perpetrator against your person. Please know that I have waited now until 2017 for 6 years to accumulate enough evidence, data, and corroborating testimony from other individuals who are in these illegal torture programs, or what I'm going to now refer to illegal 21st century Zersetzung programs. And so my testimony and what I am to share today will be easily corroborated by thousands of Americans, tens of thousands of Americans, as well as many others throughout the world. I just wanted to reiterate the reason I believe my torture began with directed energy weapons from, apparently, I'm told, satellites, but I can't confirm that right now, although I will know shortly, is because on April 14th of 2017, I and a colleague of mine who has gone MIA because he's so afraid of the retaliation we have experienced. As you can see, I have cancer growing already here. Yeah, that was completely gone, and that's already skin cancer, 2 weeks into this. We filed with Senator Marco Rubio's office in Orlando a privacy document that began a request to speak with the perpetrators of these programs. The perpetrators, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, are orchestrated through local and or regional fusion centers, which are coordinated by the FBI, CIA, NSA, many other intelligence agencies, as well as local law enforcement, fire, EMS, hospital, housing, and basically any governmental organization or potentially affiliated to the government organization. So in the case of Sarasota, that would include not-for-profits as well, but we'll get to that. Upon filing those documents to begin a dialogue with the FBI, CIA, NSA, and Air Force, FAA, FCC, DHS, to terminate our illegal listing, mine for 20 years, his for his life as an experimental victim. Within an hour and a half, the directed energy weapon torture began. We had been experiencing it for about 2 weeks prior, once we had filed the UN human rights filing, but it was intermittent and it most certainly wasn't lethal. So I guess we got our answers from the cowards that do not have the integrity and or honor to stand up to an innocent citizen and explain to that citizen why their life is being destroyed and why they are being tortured on a 27/4 basis, and to have that innocent's name removed from an illegal listing program that is 21st century Zersetzung. So that's all I have to say about my government and its agencies, who clearly at this stage are criminal. My targeting, although 20 years old, escalated dramatically in the year of 2011, very early in 2011. And this was exactly when I was beginning to have commercial success with my book and beginning to have healing retreats in Puerto Rico. The level of orchestration in my community and penetration, infiltration by community members was astounding. And again, the players I formerly named are the only entities, including the military, which rules the island of Puerto Rico, who would have the level of resources and budget to coordinate something of this nature. It began in late April, early May of 2011, and the perpetrators, although their names will be withheld, go like this. The municipal courts of Aguada, the police department of Aguada, the Puerto Rican state overall country police department, uh, proprietors of a health food store, of a computer store, um, an individual by the name of Thomas Duden, who I understand now has been an FBI informant and what is called a theater player in destroying a number of people's lives. He has a 30-year history of domestic violence, alcoholism, and small criminality, including assault, that made him perfect cover for something like this. As time went on, the perpetrators included the Department of Social Services, the Social Security Administration, who had already become a perpetrator in New Mexico as early as 2008, and Section 8, my community in Aguadilla, the Municipal Aguadilla Police Department, the Court of Aguadilla, um, not the mayor's office in Aguadilla. The mayor's office actually did try to help, but it was very clear that what was happening was way out of their control. A landlord in Aguadilla, the Air Force at Ramey Air Force Base, and let's see who else. Neighbors within my second neighborhood in Aguadilla, one of whose name will be withheld, actually poisoned me. And that's about it. But I can assure you that a 3-year period, oh yeah, of course, the police department of Aguadilla and the court system, as I said, the FBI in Aguadilla as well, although they didn't have, again, and they didn't have the courage to meet with me. Although I asked to. I always asked to. Because, of course, I have nothing to hide. I've done nothing. And they're bullshit stories. Sorry. Of course, you can just imagine that if you have this level, I'm trying to hide my cancerous spot, by the way. If you have this level of infiltration in your life and this level of harassment, and it's you're talking about major noise campaigns, orchestration to make you homeless, making sure that judges rule against you, making sure that you're tied up in court nonstop with a domestic violence issue that is incredibly stressful. Oh, the hospital in Aguadilla, wow, that was a big one. The emergency room, they almost killed me a number of times because basically what happens with targeted individuals is they're not able to get medical attention ever, because the perpetrators within the emergency rooms and the hospitals just step right in the minute their social security number or name comes up, and they're basically handled so that they die, that they don't survive what's being done to them, and it's covered up. So that gives you an idea of the level. Oh, I forgot the grocery store in Aguadilla. Yeah, that was the first time I saw that weird stuff where you're actually being harassed by clerks and by managers, and you're, I mean, guys, You can't imagine. And I was handled out of Puerto Rico by, again, another, I'm just going to say a perpetrator of these programs. And the minute I got to Homer, New York, where I thought all of this was because of some misunderstandings with the Aguadilla Police Department. Um, in Puerto Rico, but that was not the case. Now we have noise coming because, of course, they know what I'm doing. Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm monitored 24/7. You cannot imagine. Um, so when I returned to the United States to Homer, New York, the perpetration continued very aggressively, and I mean very aggressively. And as I moved into Ithaca, New York, and tried to claim my disability and many other things, the perpetration went off the map. And in fact, a 25-year employee of the Department of Social Services confirmed with me that that's exactly what was happening to me, that I was and this is their terminology, not mine, targeted individual. The perpetrators in the city of Ithaca included Overlook Apartments, the Department of Social Services, Section 8, Social Security Administration, the Mayor's Office, the Cornell Women's Legal Resources, the Women's Resource Center, the Domestic Violence Resource Center, the Public Library. It was pretty good in private restaurants, actually. In private places, it was pretty good. Craigslist, a cast of players to get housing, a hotel, a homeless shelter, and let's see who else. I'm sure I'm missing some, but that's a good beginning. I think I did say Social Security. Yes, exactly. Oh, yes, a host of lawyers, as well as a host of physicians. Although Cayuga Medical Center. Wow. That place is absolutely tied into MK Ultra big. Um, and well, whatever programs are subsequent to that, because I have no idea. I don't follow these things, so I have no idea really. But some very serious level of bizarre governmental experimentation. In addition to that, of course, the FAA, the FCC, the Air Force, NASA, whomever does the chemtrailing and subsequent directed energy weapon usage against innocent citizens. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. There's probably more, but that's enough. Oh, yes, the grocery store, Walmart's. Who else? I think that might be about it, actually. Oh, yes, dear Elizabeth Smart. My neighbor downstairs who was paid, and I have affidavits to this, by a number of organizations. Oh, I forgot the Sheriff's Department, the New York State Police, yeah. Department of Social Services across the board, and a few others. But this woman was paid, and I have the affidavits of a number of folks from Ithaca to, quote unquote, ruin people's lives, and that's exactly what she did for the 10 months that I lived above her. I have never, ever in my life had issues with neighbors until being thrust illegally into these 21st century Zetsung programs. The perpetration continued with the same rather cast of characters in Connecticut, Rhode Island, but here in Sarasota, and this is why I'm coming to this, it has been off the map. And of course, I believe the reason that is that Florida is what I call a deep capture state. It's a state that has become completely totalitarian. And so the fusion centers and the players within these illegal Zerzetzung programs are very, very bonused for extremely aggressive action and perpetration. And that's why the directed energy weapons here have been used so unreservedly. And of course, so flagrantly when I'm simply asking for my human, civil, and constitutional rights according to what I've been told I should be doing by Senator Rubio's office, as well as many others. The additional cast of players here in Sarasota has included not-for-profit organizations like the Salvation Army, again, a domestic violence organization, the Jewish Resource Center, the Women's Resource Center, and let's see who else. I'm trying to think of different players because it's pretty much the same players in each locale. But if there's different players here, yeah, different players. Going to a senator's office and asking simply to open a conversation with your perpetrators to end your program of torture and illegal surveillance, harassment, organized stalking, wild torture. That should not be happening anywhere, but it does in the United States. Same players, Sarasota Memorial Hospital, wild medical fraud. Oh, that's it. The medical fraud that has gone on me since 2011 across the board, you cannot imagine. And that's through a whole host of characters, but mostly hospitals and doctors who I believe themselves have been targeted to a certain extent to participate in these programs and to become complacent and actually actors in them. I'm very serious because I've spoken to a few doctors about these programs and how they are a part of them and what they're forced to do. And they cop to the fact that they themselves, particularly in Florida, have been targeted. It's crazy stuff, really crazy stuff. And I don't know the degree of Zerzetzung program that they're put through, but I, as I suppose a dissenter, am put through the mill. As you can see with my eyes, I'm just absolutely exhausted today. The additional players in Sarasota are like municipal water and sewage treatment, the city manager's office, let's see, the FA. I mean, how many complaints have I put out there? The FAA for sure here. I have to say Governor Rick Scott's office has been actually very, very helpful in many ways when they could be, but they only have jurisdiction over the state. They most certainly don't have any jurisdiction over the psychopaths who run these programs. But again, every time I've reached out to the fusion centers and or their players to discuss with them what's going on, why I'm listed, and why it's illegal, and to get my name off of this immediately because that is my absolute human, civil, and constitutional right. I have done nothing. I am a 58-year-old disabled woman who has been disabled since actually 97, I was told to apply for disability. Idiot that I am, I didn't until 208. And then it was just, I can't even. Oh, the IRS and Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration has perpetrated me since 2008 so aggressively. I've been cheated out of more than $250,000 in disability benefits over this period. And instead of existing on about $2,500 a month, I am forced to exist on $760 a month, while the perpetrators of these programs, many of them homeless, many of them drug addicts, many of them petty criminals, they're given, yeah, you got it, they're given the governmental benefits to the hilt that innocent citizens of these Zerzetzung programs are actually battered with. Trying to think of who else the perpetrators. I'm gonna have to put it. Oh yeah, that's not good. Perpetrators in. Oh my goodness, it's so extensive here. It's off the map. I mean, it's 24/7, wild. And I have to say I've documented very thoroughly with video, with pictures, images, still images, with EMF monitor, with recording of sound campaigns, noise campaigns, with documentation to all of the suspected parties to have them to stand down, to cease and desist, now for 6 years. And when I compare those notes and my evidence, as well as other evidence of damage done to my body, specific medical evidence that has been done, irrespective of these organizations that are perpetrators and a part of these illegal Zerzetzung programs, when you compare it against the other listed throughout the world. The story is almost identical, and that's another reason we are seeking class action counsel, but it will have to be counsel that, of course, is not a part of this deep state mechanism that perpetuates these programs. And at this juncture, it's pretty clear that anyone who is successful in the world is a part of these programs, because if you're not, you're basically listed and then targeted for elimination, as my landlord said to me the other day. So that's the testimony for today. It is 7:39 a.m. on 5/1/2017. If anyone has any questions or has any support or brilliance to offer to the equation so that I can survive this tale of this program, which is definitely an elimination tale. But the whole thing has been elimination. It's been a miracle I've survived. I am available at 941-356-8007 or at ANNE Kaspar, KASPAR 888 at gmail.com. Thank you.